Good evening, everyone. I hope you all had a most blessed day. It's time for your daily Bible verse. And tonight we're going to read Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 23. Do I take any pleasure in the death of the wicked? Declares the sovereign Lord. Rather, am I not pleased when they turn from their ways and live? This is kind of talking here in Ezekiel. It's talking about righteous and unrighteous. And what the Lord is telling Ezekiel here, he's like, do I take any pleasure in the death of the wicked? He doesn't take any pleasure in the death of anybody for that matter, and especially the wicked, knowing that they'll die without him, Not saying any of us walk in perfectness, but here's the thing. The unsaved, the ones that are not God's children, they die without Jesus. Well, it's unfortunate, but they will perish. It's not something we want to think about. I get that, but, it's the reality. And the Lord does not take the pleasure in the death of any, That's what he's saying here. He's like, rather, am I not pleased when they turn from their ways and live? The wages of sin is death. That's mentioned many times, Christ took God's wrath on the cross for us, but we still deal with the consequences for our sin, We feel the conviction and sometimes things happen, Nonetheless, the Lord is pleased when they turn from their ways and live. Any evil person, they can be saved. They can turn from their ways, and the testimonies of people that have done that is amazing, hearing how some of them were before they were saved and just hearing how much of a transformation is in their life now that Christ has made in their life, And let me tell you something, I know there was an interview with Jeffrey Dahmer before he died, who was a mass murderer. And he had said even then, he's like, I need to accept my Lord Jesus Christ. He wanted to accept Christ. Hopefully he meant every word of what he said. Some are like, well, he killed thousands. And it's just like, need I remind them that Paul was a murderer, And if the thing is, hopefully he repented and he accepted Christ and he's at home with him now. And he was forgiven, And the same happens when anybody with that sinful nature turns from their ways. The Lord forgives them. He did us. I love you. You have a blessed night.